Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the African-American history in Nashville, Tennessee between 1780 and 1930. And of course we have with us the author of the book, The African-American History in Nashville between 1790 and 1930, Professor Dr. BLovet7 from Tennessee State University, who is also the Dean of the School of the College of Arts and Sciences at Tennessee State University. And of course, Dr. Lovett, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Haney.
And indeed, Dr. Lovett, to say that and as many of our viewers probably know, we've had you on this show on a number of occasions, talking about African-American history from a national point of view. You've talked about the Declaration of Independence with us, the Constitution of the United States, just a number of other topics. And we also know that this is a book that you've been working on for the last 15 to 20, 25 years. In other words, it's almost a lifelong project, as many of us who are involved in this whole process of history know. And of course, what we'd like to do today is to give you an opportunity to talk about this book and to tell folks, because I know that it's been sold throughout Nashville and many other areas, and that you've got quite an audience dealing with it, and we want to try to at least tap into that and to talk about this book and to give you an opportunity to do so. But before we get into that, Dr. Lovett, let's have you to give us some information about Dr. BLovet7, your background, your education, and some of the other things that were important that led you to the College of Arts and Sciences as the Dean, and eventually led you to write in this book dealing with the history of Nashville between those periods.
Well, my education really began growing up in Memphis, Tennessee. I graduated from high school there at Booker T. Washington High School. Went on to do my undergraduate work at Arkansas A&M State College, my master's and PhD at the University of Arkansas. And I've done some little minor studies at Howard University, and I've even taken courses in graduate computer science at Tennessee State, where I've worked for the last 26 years. And before coming to Tennessee State, I was at Eureka College in Illinois. And since being at TSU in the last 26 years, I've served not only as professor, but as a department head, assistant dean and associate dean, and currently I'm dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, a position I've held for the last 12 years.
You know, Dr. Lovett, I think to talk about some of your activities in this publication especially, this deals with the African American as a group in Nashville, Tennessee between those periods. Let's allow you to sort of give our audience doing this show an overview of this book. That is to look at some of the areas that you think are important and to tell us why we ought to have this as the African American experience in our libraries. And later on we'll talk about
as you pointed out, this book did take about 15 years because also during that time I was working full-time as administrator, and so I did not have full-time to do research and writing and so on. So it took a little longer than it probably would have taken me otherwise. But also I wrote this book because there existed no book on the African-American history of Nashville. Right now, there's no book on the African-American history of Memphis or Chattanooga or Knoxville. Those are books still to come. And so to write these kind of